Welcome back to the second part of Damiano line in the Petroff defense, and we continue studying the position after e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, knight takes e5, knight takes e4, queen e2, queen e7, queen takes e4, d6, d4, d takes e5, and d takes e5. So this is a critical and the most important line where black has to play extremely careful for reaching the enough counterplay. So when I looked at the database, that found that many times when black played not so precisely, so just one slip could cause them a game. Let's say in the encounter between Leonid Yudasin and Riccardo Montecatini, after knight c6 move, which we will consider as a best, white, instead of playing f4 or bishop f4, which we'll consider later on, moved the bishop on b5, and this probably one of the strongest continuation here, when bishop d7 more or less forced, knight c3, black continue normal way, long castling. So later on I will explain you the most, I would say, the direct and the strongest continuation here for black. After long castling, bishop f4 and f6, black got almost no compensation for a pawn after e takes f6, queen takes f6, and after long castling, a6 and knight d5, it's really disaster for black. After queen f7 and bishop c4, there is no pawn, no any compensation, and white is having decisive threats against the black's queen side. Knight b6, knight takes c7. After rook e8, white simply played queen f3, bishop e6, rook h to e1. So white just develop all his pieces, and after bishop c5 finish the game with a simple combination. Rook takes e6, rook takes e6, and knight takes e7. Black is losing the material, so the rook on e6 is gone. Black is resigned already. So you have to know exactly the theory, and you have to know exactly the moves order for avoiding such a catastrophe in the opening which happened to Riccardo Rias Montecatini. Let's back to the theoretical position after d takes e5 and d takes e5. It's clear that one of the strongest responses of knight c6 should be move like f4 or bishop f4, which immediately protects the white center pawn on e5. Let's start with bishop f4. So now if black continues normally like bishop d7, then long castling, so white complete his development of the king side, bishop e2, then playing short castle, knight c3, and it would be extremely difficult for black to gain this pawn on e5. That's why we have to play very aggressively, and this is the move. G7, G5, the game. Talbaron against Or Cohen continuing here, bishop d2. It's quite obvious and normally naturally looking move, bishop g3. Unfortunately is a big blunder, so you can find why. This is one of the important traps in the Damiano line and the Petroff defense, that after bishop g3 black wins the piece by playing f5, queen e2, and f4. The game is over. The same problem that after g5 white could try, of course,